Hello, viewers. I am Mr. Dilip Kumar Pal, stands before you with a topic Antonio Francesco Gramsci's view on historicism. It is found in core paper number 13 of 6th semester. Today's video relates with Antonio Francesco Gramsci's view on historicism. But before I start my video, I want to inform my viewers that in my channel, plus 2 first year political science to plus 2 second year political science, plus 3 first semester political science honors, up to plus 3 6th semester political science honors, and many videos relating to environmental studies of plus 3 first semester, which is common for plus 3 first year arts, science and commerce, are available. You will get all these videos if you will search my channel in the YouTube. The channel name is @Dilip Kumar Pal 9375. Or in YouTube, any topic you want, just write my name Dilip Kumar Pal and the name of the topic. You will get both the Odia video and English video respectively. And I want to inform my viewers that if you have subscribed my channel, it is alright, so that benefit will be in your door. If you have not subscribed, subscribe. And if your friends, if reading in above classes, aware them about this channel, so that at least some students will be benefited. To aware your friends about my channel is like a help to your friends. And I request you not to hesitate to give help to anybody. To give help is the highest human activity. Let us start. Antonio Francesco Gramsci on historicism. What he told about historicism. Antonio Francesco Gramsci, whose father name was Francesco Gramsci and mother name was Giuseppina Gramsci, was a great Italian thinker, philosopher, writer and politician. Antonio Francesco Gramsci, whose father name was Francesco Gramsci and mother name was Giuseppina Gramsci, was an Italian thinker, philosopher, writer and politician. He, in his book, The Prison Notebook, from 1929 to 1935, delivered his views on a lot of crucial issues. In his famous book, The Prison Notebooks, where in between 1929 to 1937, 1929 to 1935, he delivered his views on a lot of crucial issues. Among these, his views on historicism is considered as his one of the major view. Antonio Francesco Gramsci was known for some his attracting views. Among these views, his view on historicism is one of his vital view for which he is known today. So what he told about historicism? Antonio Francisco Gramsci's view on historicism. What he told about historicism? The word historicism means to study the history of a particular object before explaining anything about it. The word historicism means to study the history of a particular object before explaining anything about it. It means before commenting on any object, its history must be studied. It means by taking into account the history of a particular object, statement about them must be made. Otherwise, the statement or comment about the object will be wrong. So Gramsci applied this historicism as a mean to study communism in the society. So historicism means before commenting, before explaining on any concept, its history must be studied. Without considering the history of an object, comment should not be made. If comment will be made without studying the history, the comment will become wrong. And Gramsci pointed out that by historicism, communism will be established. Gramsci applied this historicism as a mean to establish communism in the society. He applied historicism, or he pointed out through historicism, communism will be established in the society. So he took historicism as a mean to establish communism. But Karl Marx did not accept historicism as a mean to establish communism in the society. But Karl Marx did not accept historicism as a mean to establish communism in the society. Marx viewed that communism will be established by the economic factors like food, cloth and shelter. Marx viewed that communism will be established in future, but it will not be established by historicism, rather it will be established by economic factors like food, cloth and shelter. As food, cloth and shelter are limited, if someone will get, other will not. So for those basic things, there will be fighting between capitalists, rich people and proletariats or workers. So Marx pointed out that communism will be established due to economic factor. He pointed out that as economic factors like food, cloth and shelter are limited, if someone will get, other will not. So for food, cloth and shelter, there will be fighting between the capitalists, rich people and the poor people or the workers. Because capitalists will try to accumulate more and more wealth, and workers will try to have wealth. So there will be fighting between the capitalists, rich people and proletariat or worker or poor people on the other hand. So there will be fighting between capitalists and poor people or proletariat. As on the basis of law of concentration of capital, the number of capitalists will decrease, and at the same time the number of workers or poor people will increase. And in the war, workers will win and capitalists will be defeated. At that time, communism will be established, where there will be a classless, stateless, exploitationless society will be established, in which all property and wealth are commonly owned instead of by individuals. So Marx pointed out that so communism will be established due to economic factors. He viewed that as economic factors like food, cloth, and shelter are limited, if someone will get, other will not. So, for food, cloth, and shelter, there will be fighting between capitalist, rich people, and proletariat, the poor people. Because capitalists will try to accumulate more and more wealth, and poor people will try to have it to survive. So there will be a fighting between them. And as on the basis of law of concentration of capital, the number of rich people gradually will decrease. At the same time, the number of poor people will gradually increase. At that time, there will be war between capitalist and proletariat. In the war, capitalists will be defeated. When capitalists will be defeated, workers will win. At that time, communism will be established. When communism will be established, at the time there will be classless, stateless, exploitationless society will be established, in which all property and wealth are commonly owned instead of by individuals. So Karl Marx pointed out that communism will be established by economic factor. But Gramsci did not agree with Karl Marx. But Gramsci pointed out that communism will not be established by only economic factor, rather by historicism. So Gramsci pointed out that only by economic factor like food, cloth, and shelter, even if there will be a revolution, but a revolution may not be successful. Because to make the revolution successful, it must be the duty of intellectuals of the society to inject in the mind of common people the culture of communism by explaining of historical developments in terms of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, and the relation between superstructure and substructure. But Gramsci pointed out that only by economic factors, which Marx told that there will be a revolution. In the revolution, workers will defeat the capitalists. But Gramsci pointed out that even if by economic factor there will be a revolution, the revolution may not be successful. Gramsci pointed out that by economic factors only, even if there will be a revolution may not be successful. And in order to make the revolution successful, it must be the duty of the intellectuals to inject in the mind of the common people the culture of communism by explaining of historical developments in terms of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, and the relationship between superstructure and substructure. So Gramsci pointed out that only by economic factor, if there will be revolution, it may not be successful. So to make revolution successful, along with the economic factor, the culture of communism must be entered, must be injected in the mind of the common people by explaining thesis, by explaining the of historical developments in terms of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, and the relationship between superstructure and substructure. So Gramsci pointed out that the revolution to establish communism will be successful at that time whenever in the mind of the common people the culture of communism will be injected by explaining historical developments in terms of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, and the relationship between superstructure and substructure. So the feeling of communism must be injected in the mind of the people by explaining them through historical developments of thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So, what is thesis? What is antithesis? And what is synthesis? Thesis means the prevailing system. The situation which prevails is the thesis. Antithesis means the opposing forces of the prevailing system. Thesis means the prevailing system. Antithesis means the opposing element of the prevailing system. Finally, synthesis means the system arises out of the tussles between thesis and antithesis is known as the synthesis. So, for example, in ancient time, there was primitive economy. In ancient time there was primitive economy. At that time it was the thesis. In the ancient time there was primitive economy. At the time it was thesis, where people were leading a simple life without industries and writing system. In the primitive time, for example, there was a primitive economy. So in the ancient time, primitive economy was prevailing. So in the ancient time, the primitive economy was the thesis, where people were leading a very simple life without industry and writing system. The tussle between primitive society and its opposing forces give rise to slave economy. So in the ancient time, there was primitive economy. So it was the thesis. And anti-forces, the opposing element of thesis or its antithesis, give rise to slave economy. In the slave economy, there was a division in the society. Some are slave and some are masters. So if primitive economy will be thesis, its opposing forces will be antithesis, and its synthesis will be the slave economy. So in the primitive time, there was primitive society economy. In the primitive economy, people were leading a very simple life. That society was without industry and writing system. So in the ancient time, primitive economy was the thesis. And with the lapse of time, its opposing elements develop. It becomes antithesis. Finally, whenever there was a struggle between thesis and antithesis, the synthesis came, which is the slave economy. So out of the tussle between primitive economy and its anti-forces, slave economy came. And when slave economy came, slave economy became the thesis again. And its opposing element developed. And in between slave economy and its opposing element, a synthesis came, which is the feudal system. And when feudal system came, it became thesis. And its opposing element developed. And the tussle between the feudal economy and its opposing element gave rise to capitalist system. And when capitalist system came, it became thesis. And when between the capitalism and its anti-forces tussle was made, its outcome will be the communism. So here it is told that thesis means prevailing system, antithesis means the opposing forces of the prevailing system. Finally, synthesis means system arises out of the tussle between thesis and antithesis. For example, in ancient time, there was a primitive economy where people were leading a simple life without industries and writing system. The tussle between primitive society and its opposing forces gave rise to slave economy. So if primitive economy will be thesis, its opposing forces will be antithesis, and synthesis will be the slave economy, where there was a division in the society like slave and master, slaves being dominant producing class being controlled by masters. Again, slave economy thesis and its antithesis give rise to feudal economy. It became a synthesis where feudal lords own a majority land while serfs work for them. Again, feudal economy and its anti-forces give rise to capitalist economy, where private actors own property for their interest. Finally, the capitalist economy and its anti-forces will give rise to communism, where all property and wealth are communally owned instead of owned by individuals. So, Marx pointed out that communism will be established by only economic factors. But Gramsci pointed out that if by economic factor, Gramsci pointed out that if by economic factors there will be a revolution may not be successful. Revolution will be successful at that time if, along with economic factor, people must be taught about the culture of communism. Along with economic factor, the feeling of communism must be injected in the mind of the people by referring historical developments relating to thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So, Gramsci viewed that intellectuals will explain. Gramsci pointed out that only by economic factor, if there will be a revolution will not be successful. Gramsci pointed out that intellectuals will explain masses all historical developments of thesis, prevailing system, antithesis, its drawbacks, and finally the ultimate society, which is synthesis. So, when people will be convinced about the merits of communism, if at that time there will be a revolution, it will be successful, which is known as historic block by Gramsci, or right time for revolution. So Gramsci pointed out that only by economic factor communism cannot be established, because if by economic factor, even if there will be revolution may not be successful. Before revolution will be made, people must be taught, or the feeling of or the culture of communism must be injected in the mind of the people. If people will know about the communism, its plus points, merits, at that time, if there will be revolution, the revolution will be successful, and that time will be the right time for revolution. It is known as historic block by Gramsci. So the right time, so the revolution must be made in right time, which is known as the historic block. So Gramsci pointed out that only by economic factor communism cannot be established. Before a revolution will be made, the ideas of communism must be injected in the mind of the people by explaining historical factors of thesis, prevailing system, its antithesis, its weak points, and the future society, synthesis. Only by that, if revolution will be made, a revolution is successful. So, Gramsci viewed that communism will be established by historicism. It means people must be explained about the historical developments of different things like thesis, antithesis, synthesis. By this historicism only, communism will be established. So, in this video we discussed Gramsci's view about historicism, how it told through historicism communism was established. So here are some points to remember. Date of birth of Gramsci, 22nd January 1891. Date of death, 27th April 1937. Died at the age of 46 years. He died in prison in 1937. He was imprisoned by Mussolini in 1926. So, in this video, we have discussed Antonio Francesco Gramsci's view on historicism. I request my viewers to watch this whiteboard attentively or listen me attentively, so you will be able to understand the topic. Thank you. Have a very good day.